This podcast episode is presented by a generous sponsorship of Radio Free Santa Clarita by the California Institute of the Arts, one of the top art schools in the world located right here in Santa Clarita. You can find out more information about their Discover Music program, CalArts summer program for high school students. Learn more at calarts.edu/discover. Hi there, I'm Lee Huber, and you've just downloaded another fine episode of the Awesome Town Sound podcast. We hope you're trying to stay cool during these dog days of summer. If you're at the pool, the lake, or if you head over to the beach, we have made it possible to enjoy Santa Clarita's best music while you're there. On Spotify, search for the Sounds of Santa Clarita playlist. There, you'll be able to find songs by all of our featured artists, including Alicia XO, Serena Laurel, Young Chubbs, C. Def, Jim Gustin and Truth Jones, Sean Wiggins, and more. Load up the playlist anytime you want to hear the best mix of what Santa Clarita's music scene has to offer. And speaking of the best in Santa Clarita, this week's featured artist has some deep roots to the SCV scene. Groovin' Tom Lamog heads up the Fahrwest Sessions, a group of veteran musicians and friends that have been rocking Santa Clarita for over 10 years. They'll be performing at the Main on Friday as part of the Sidecar Music Series, and I couldn't be more honored to have them on the podcast this week. Our interview with Groovin' Tom is up shortly, but first, let's check the local music calendar. Steve Jones kicks it off Friday at 6 p.m. at Telco Brewery. The Valencia Jazz and Blues concert series continues at the Westfield Valencia Town Center with Kelly's Lot. They start up at 7 p.m. Vincenzo's in Newhall has an open mic night starting at 7:30 p.m. Our featured artist this week, the Fahrwest Sessions. They'll be performing an intimate show at the Main at 8 p.m. The Vinyl Gypsies will be at Alchemy Valencia at 9 p.m. And Mike Fitzgerald and John LaCroix will be at the Newhall Press Room at 9 p.m. as well. On Saturday, July 27th, the G3 Band will be at Backyard Grub and Brews at 6:30 p.m. Monkey Bump will be at Pocock Brewing at 7. Concerts at the Park will have Queen Nation, fantastic Queen tribute group, starting at 7. Meridian will be at Vincenzo's Newhall at 7:30 p.m. Tommy Peacock will be at the local Pub and Grill at 8 p.m. Another performance of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat will happen at the College of the Canyons Performing Arts Center at 8 p.m. They'll have another taping of Soundcheck, the SCV TV local music show. This week they'll feature familiar friends Dean Decay and Ruby Garcia. That'll be at the Main at 8 p.m. And Nils Lawrence will be at the Newhall Press Room at 9 p.m. Rounding out the weekend on Sunday, July 28th, another matinee performance of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at the COC Performing Arts Center. Trax will be at Salt Creek Grill at 5 p.m. Vincenzo's will host the Keyboard Galleria Music Center Gig Masters, which are student bands performing live. That'll be at Vincenzo's at 5 p.m. And at the Canyon, Hinder will rock the house with doors opening at 6 p.m. To check out this week's entire calendar of events, check out the all-new AwesomeTownSound.com. One of the first bands that caught my attention when I started up this podcast was the Fahrwest Sessions. I'm not sure if the misspelling of the band's name was a marketing gimmick or not, but it worked. I was curious. The Fahrwest Sessions will be headlining a fun and intimate performance this Friday at the Main in Old Town Newhall, so it was the perfect time to have them on the Awesome Town Sound podcast. Here's lead vocalist, guitarist, and songwriter Groovin' Tom to tell you more.
Hi, I'm Tom Lamog, singer, songwriter, guitarist, and leader of the Santa Clarita-based band, the Fahrwest Sessions. We're in our 10th year of performing at a number of places here in Santa Clarita, along with the Antelope and San Fernando Valleys, including Vincenzo's Pizza in Newhall, Wolf Creek Brewery. We've performed at Kulak's Woodshed in North Hollywood. A couple of new places, Brewery Draconum and Telco Brewery. Within the last few months, we've made appearances there. The Wine Affair, which has been a long-standing event here in Santa Clarita, is some place that we've played for a few times. And not too long ago, we did an appearance on SCV TV's House Blend with Stephen Peoples, which continues to air in reruns. And it's also available at their website. It's been 10 years of great fun playing around town, and these guys who make up the Fahrwest Sessions, so talented, so fun. It's been a great time. Well, it started in 2009 when David and I first met at an open mic over at the Canyon Theater Guild. We got together more frequently with guitars, just jamming through songs that we both knew. We had a lot of friends notice what we were doing and wanted to be a part of that process. So Mark Davis joined as our drummer, Phil Sykes as bass player for the band, and then we had Arden Acord join us on his fiddle and mandolin. And Trout Davis brought his harmonica and dobro skills to the band. So we had what I affectionately call the rock section, which was primarily myself, David, Mark, and Phil, and then the bluegrass section, which was Arden and Trout. And the sound that we put together was very unique to the Santa Clarita area. Thus became the Fahrwest Sessions. And that was the lineup that we had for several years until 2018 when Trout retired from the band. And Arden had accompanied Trout. They've been longtime musical partners and went off and did their own style of music. Gary Jensen came in as our second co-lead guitar player, and we are now standing at 5 players. That makes up the Fahrwest Sessions. And it's been a great 10 years of playing music with all these guys. Just a wonderful, wonderful time. Well, typically it's a little bit of rock, some blues. Occasionally we play country. We like to call what we play homegrown originals, California-fied country rock and rock and roll. The cover songs we typically include in our set list are from singer-songwriters of the 60s and 70s. You'll notice plenty of dueling guitars going on and maybe some 2 or 3 part harmonies with a country rock or maybe classic rock vibe. Some of the artists that we gravitate towards include the Eagles, the Doobie Brothers, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Jackson Browne, some Creedence, along with country counterparts Vince Gill, Tim McGraw, Garth Brooks, and Chris Stapleton. Their songs you'll find in our set list quite a bit. It's a style of music we like. Well, personally, it depends on how I'm feeling. There are times when I feel as peaceful as a boat on a lake at sunrise when no one's around. And then there are those other times when I want to turn the music up so loud that it shakes me enough to change my mood into something more energized, ready to take on the world kind of a thing. I guess finding somewhere in between is my most comfortable, where I can turn a story from experiences that were either shared or are my own and put it into music and lyrics that's relatable. Most of these songs trigger a memory of the person who shared it with me. Since I'm still friends with all of them, I'm guessing I'm telling their stories right. When someone takes the time to share their stories with me, or an event that triggers an intense emotion, or when another songwriter has an idea but needs help with finishing what they started, those are all inspirational to me. When someone takes the time to share their stories with me, there's a certain trust they have with me, whether it's to put their mind at ease or share their burden. It's a moment when there's vulnerability and exposure. It's also a revalidation of friendship and love, I suppose. As for intense emotion, it's true what some of my favorite songwriters, my heroes and legends say. If you can focus all of that emotion into writing, you can come up with some pretty amazing stories to share. I started off in the late 70s strumming campfire songs, then managed to get some really good advice from musicians all through the years. It's been a slow process, but I'm told just keep at it. Playing music with other musicians I don't know is another one of those aspirations, which is something that David Fry had suggested to me. Just get out there and play with as many musicians as you can, which is essential to your learning. As a result of that, I've got friends in Portland, Oregon who asked me to come back and be a part of their organized jam. Some friends who are actually doing a lot of playing locally in the Phoenix, Arizona area that invite me to sit in, which is just a total blast. And then my songwriting partner, Brian Thompson, who's been my songwriting partner for 20 years, based in Dallas. Every time I go to Dallas, there's usually something happening with a number of musicians out there getting together to jam, which has just been a blast. The other aspiration is tied to writing a solid song that people will recognize at some point in time. The closest I've ever gotten to doing that is a song that I wrote. It's called It's Not Magic, Just Hard Work. It was written for Keith Colburn, who's the captain of The Wizard on Discovery Channel's Deadliest Catch. He was so flattered with the song that he gave it to the show's producers to have it featured on the show someday, which was really kind of cool. What have you succeeded at? Well, there are a few things I'm proud of accomplishing. First, there's keeping the guys in the band together. we all work day jobs, and we have our own lives and challenges and commitments. And after 10 years, we all managed to find the time and interest in continuing to do music together. So it's great. Next, there's the ability to write a song, and not just any song, but songs that the band can put their support behind, and performing show after show, year after year. And for the folks that come to our gigs and they let us know that they're really enjoying what we do, genuinely appreciate that, which is really great. Finally, the support of our family, just getting them to come along for the ride with us, allowing us to really do the best that we can. It's real important to have our wives support what we do. And we know that makes a real difference. So we're really happy at being able to have them be a part of this with us. It's something that you can really see at the end of the year when we have what we call our year-end tip jar celebration around Christmas time, where everyone just comes together. You know that the Fahrwest Sessions has become a family-run enterprise, I suppose. What goals do you have? For the band is to keep our set lists interesting and entertaining for the band to play. And something that our guests can continue to enjoy. Maybe find some new venues to perform at. Could be another. I haven't mentioned this to the guys, but maybe one day I'm hoping we can open for some big name act at the Santa Clarita Performing Arts Center. For me, a goal is just to really stay the course, keep up with getting better at playing guitar and singing and writing good songs. Well, the song is Rockin' in Blues Country. It's the title track for my newest album. When I started to write the song, I wanted it to be about the band, each of the members of the band. Each of us have been raised on one of those genres, blues, country, rock. So I wanted it to kind of represent what each of the band members brings into the band. Plus, I was wanting to write a song that we could play in place of the Skynyrd song everyone asks to hear, which is Freebird. So when we went into the studio, I had asked the guys just to cut loose on their solos and to represent their genre. Whether they did it or not, well, you could be the judge. Of course, for me, it was one of the most memorable performances that I had ever heard this band put forth. So I hope you enjoy it. Rockin' in Blues Country.
Music in him says is you. World around him shaped his views. Raised on vintage by tradition. A hostage to a pop addiction. Took their words note for note, what he heard. Played for his friends every day. They would say, with these songs he pays his dues. On the road, the same old tunes. Often thinks about something new. The sweet country songs, the rhythm and blues. But all he knows is in a book he carries round. That's what got him the gigs in front of the crowds. Picking peaches, strum blues. He's bound for heaven in a lead balloon. Through funky trees and purple buzzes. Climb the watchtower, feel the buzz. With his guitar, he makes them weep. Has everyone on their feet. Home sweet home, birds are free. He's living it up and rocking in blues country. different town. Up on stage, he looks around, about to party with the crowd. The dance and drink and get loud. Turns up his guitar to give it all. Here's one before ya, before the last call. Picking beaches, drum and blues. He's bound to heaven in a lead balloon. Through foggy trees and purple fuzz. Climb the watchtower, feel the buzz. With his guitar, he makes the weep. Has everyone on their feet? Home sweet home, birds are free. He's living it up and rocking in blues country.
Well, thanks again for having me as your guest. You can find my music on Apple iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby. Probably the best way to find us is to just do a Google search on Fahrwest Sessions, Groove and Tom Lamog. All of those searches should take you to a place where you can find a place to purchase and download our music. In terms of our next show, we're thrilled to be going to the Main Theater, which is in downtown Newhall on Friday, July 26th at 8 p.m. There's a $10 admission fee, but when you pay that, we're going to give you a copy of Rockin' and Blues Country, the album, as a thanks for supporting our music. So hope you can make that. And again, you can do a Google search or even check out the City of Santa Clarita's webpage. That should have our information as well. And boy, oh boy, we're playing locally in Santa Clarita. If you just check out our Facebook page, we've got our tour schedule posted there. You can also find Groove and Tom music online as well, and it has the same information. So those are all the places you can find where you can buy our music, where you can see us, pictures, stories, and so on and so forth. So thanks again for having me as your guest.
Thank you for listening to the Awesome Town Sound Podcast. We are a production of Radio Free Santa Clarita. For more information, visit radiofreesantaclarita.org. You can keep up with all the local music events that we mention here by visiting the Awesome Town Sound Facebook page. And if you enjoyed our show, please tell your friends about it on social media. Tell your friends to subscribe, because the bigger this music community gets, the better. We live in an awesome town with awesome artists, awesome bands, and awesome fans. So keep on listening to the Awesome Town Sound podcast.